Shopify Masters is powered by Shopify, the easiest way to sell online, in person, and anywhere in between. To get an extended 30-day trial, visit shopify.com/masters.
I definitely recommend having someone that you hire who is more on your side working for you, as opposed to you going to the factories not knowing Chinese.
Hey, my name is Felix. I'm the host of Shopify Masters. Each week we learn the keys to success from e-commerce experts and entrepreneurs like you. In this episode, you'll learn what time of year to go to China to find manufacturers, what's a fixer and how to hire them for your overseas trip, and how to get the attention of busy big box retail buyers. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Moore from Felony Case. Felony Case makes unique iPhone cases and started off hand-making cases and was started in 2012 and based out of Toronto. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, Felix. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. So I got to admit, when I heard the name Felony Case, I didn't think that it would be iPhone cases that you were selling. Tell us about where you came with the name. How did you come up with the name, the brand, Felony Case?
So yeah, the name story is kind of a funny one. I was actually down in Miami kind of just after getting the initial idea, and thought that I wanted to start an iPhone case company. And we were kind of out at a bar just grabbing dinner, and it was kind of an empty bar. There was one girl in there sitting up at the bar, super unique. She had rainbow colored hair, like super punk rock, big bullet studded belt, and like 6-inch platform shoes. So she was super unique. We ended up talking to her, and she introduced herself. She said, "Hi, my name's Melanie, but my friends call me Felony." So that word kind of stuck in my mind, and I thought it kind of sounded cool, Felony Case, with the double entendre. At the time, I was making kind of very kind of punk rock-esque, high fashion, metal studded phone cases. So I really thought the brand name kind of worked with the look the cases had at the time.
So were you already making cases prior to turning it into like a brand or trying to put a brand around the product that you were selling?
Well, actually, just before I left for that Miami trip, it's kind of another funny story. I was just lying in bed about to go to sleep, just reading through Twitter one night, and this girl posted a photo of this crazy spiked iPhone case. It had like big 2-inch metal studs on the back, and she said, "Oh my God, what is this? Where can I get one of these?" So I kind of looked at it and thought, hey, that's kind of cool. I think that would kind of be popular. So I went on Amazon. I think I spent maybe $50. I got 10 plain black silicone iPhone cases. And I ordered, I think 100 kind of screw-in punk rock studs, they were called, on Amazon. So I ordered those off Amazon, and then I tweeted the girl back. I said, "Hey, give me a couple weeks and I'll have something for you." So that's kind of how it started out with the whole iPhone case idea. I never really set out to start a brand. I got that shipment in from Amazon. I actually used a leather belt hole punch to punch the holes in leather belts. I actually used that to punch cases in the back of the silicone case, and then I would hand screw in these metal studs. And at the time, I just was kind of making those for friends, and then friends of friends saw them. They were super unique and eye-catching, and it kind of caught on. Friends and friends would ask, and so I would be making them for friends and friends. And originally, just to get a store set up, somewhere to start selling them, I actually started on Etsy. Took some pictures of those ones that I was making, and it's kind of been a wild past 5 years since then.
Yeah, so clearly you knew to recognize this opportunity. You recognized that there was a buyer out there and you took action immediately, which sounds like you must have some experience here, right? Have you launched businesses or other products in the past?
Not really. Prior to that, I was just kind of had graduated school a few years before. In 2009, I graduated from college, and I was just kind of working odd jobs, doing deliveries. I was just working for kind of maintenance at this kind of cool art building here in Toronto. On the side, I did have an idea for an app. So I got it, like not a Shopify app, sorry, like a web app. It was actually like a gift, a wish list app. So I kind of got that built, and then I had the website live, and then I thought, wow, I don't know what to do now to get people to the website. So I took business and marketing in school, and I that was my first foray into entrepreneurship, was that website. It was a great learning experience, but kind of transition now into selling physical goods, and I found that a lot easier to do than just having kind of this app. I found it's a lot easier to get people to come to a website where they make a purchase and then they actually a few days later receive a product.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about producing or being in a market with a well-trodden path. Like, people know to go online. They know about this product. It's not something that is completely new that you have to explain to them. It's a very frictionless experience for them. When you are creating a web app, or even if you're selling a physical product that requires a lot of complex explanations or specific use cases for them to use or buy your product, then becomes much, much harder. So I think that's what you experienced, which was that when you created something from scratch, you didn't know how to reach your audience. But when you are selling something that is much more identifiable, much more understandable to your customers, it becomes a lot easier. Now, speaking of having something identifiable, merchandise is a huge industry right now. It seems to be blowing up more and more in terms of not just products being out there, but people are starting businesses for the first time by selling merchandise. And cell phone cases is usually one of the first attempts at entrepreneurship for a lot of people. And yours is obviously a lot more intricate, a lot more involved than what you would typically see in a cell phone case merchandise store. But at that time, and I think even back then, it must have seemed like a saturated market, right? A lot of people were selling iPhone accessories, especially iPhone cases. What made you think that you could corner a specific part of the market? Maybe not early on, but then when you decided to take it more seriously, what made you decide that, or confident that you could kind of slice out your own piece of the pie?
Yeah, definitely. I saw a need in the kind of iPhone case market. At the time, they had the basic cases that you could pretty much buy at Dollarama or a dollar store or at a kiosk in the mall, where they are super, super cheap. And then on the opposite end of that, they had super protective iPhone cases that were more expensive, offered great protection, more protection than the dollar store ones. But neither of those were, very aesthetically pleasing. So I kind of saw a need there where they're, more kind of fashion forward. People might be looking for an iPhone case, something unique, and it's a woman with a handbag that's worth a few $1,000s. She doesn't necessarily want that cheap case from the kiosk in the mall. And then at the same time doesn't want that maybe not as aesthetically pleasing case, like a super protective phone case. So I kind of saw a need there, where I was going to try and offer very aesthetically pleasing cases that also offer the protection.
Makes sense. Now, when you were selling these or making these for friends and family, did you have a price figured out, or how did you eventually settle on the price point you have today, which looks like it's about $40 for all of your products?
Yeah. So when I was hand making them, I pretty much just pulled a price out of thin air. I had no idea what to price them. I was getting the materials for fairly cheap, but those cases were very labor intensive. The hand screwed in metal studded cases. So those ones I priced at, I think I started them at $50. And then when I kind of started getting some interest from retailers, I think I bumped the price for those up to $60. And I think I could kind of attain that a little bit higher than average price point for a phone case because it was a handmade phone case. So, but yeah, I just pulled that originally $50. I just pulled that out of nowhere. Just figured it was kind of more on the premium end, and I was happy to sell it at that price to friends or family.
Got it. So nowadays, do you get much? Do you test out the prices? Like, what is your strategy today to arrive at a price that makes sense for you and the customer?
Yeah, I did. So after kind of the next phone case design I got into after those studded ones was a super high-end, super luxury, genuine Python, genuine Stingray leathers. So for those, I was sourcing the leathers from Thailand, getting it shipped over to China to be produced there. But because they had those luxury snake skin and stingray skin, I had to price them higher. So the Python ones were 95 and the stingray ones were 120. So I kind of went super high end after that because currently there wasn't anything available for phone cases at that price point, and I wanted to kind of target a high end consumer. I did realize after doing that, after I did that, I kind of tested lower price point cases and kind of realized that there definitely is that happy medium where you could charge a lot and not sell as many. But I kind of realized that it's a lot easier to offer the cases at a more competitive price point and sell more volume.
Now, you again, we were talking about this. We mentioned this a couple of times already that you handmade a lot of these cases, handmade all the cases to start with, and there's this idea of doing things that don't scale right away, rather than trying to focus on scaling or automation right from the beginning. When you're doing this, you weren't worried about being bogged down by producing the products yourself. Like, what was going through your head? What was the plan? What did you ever think about at first? Did you ever think about how can I actually scale this at a later point, or like what was your plan early on?
I think early on when I was sitting in my living room hand making those cases, I was just stoked that that there was a market for them and that people were buying them, and I was happy to sit there and make them because there was that market for them. Eventually, once I started kind of getting more orders, I definitely had to think about how to scale.
And what was that inflection point for you from going from hand making these and into actually turning it into a business?
Well, I got one day I was sitting there making cases and my phone email dinged on my phone. I had a look at it, and it was actually from the retail buyers at Apple headquarters in Cupertino. I guess they had seen photos of the spiked felony cases, and they were interested. His subject line was opportunity at Apple stores. So of course, to me, that's was then, and well, at that point probably wasn't even in my realm of possibility, but that is of course a dream. So they had requested some samples. So I made a few samples for them, sent them down to Apple headquarters.
And this is still handmade at this point.
Those were still handmade, yeah. So he got back to me a couple weeks later and thanking me for sending them. He said everyone in their office was super excited to see them. They ended up doing some tests with them, and Apple actually has some limits with the cases that they will sell in their store. Of course, they do so many tests and everything to make sure all the functionality of the case won't affect any functionality of their iPhones. So they actually don't sell any phone cases that have metal in them because it could interfere with, I think he said, the GPS function of the phone. So when he said that, I thought, okay, well, this studded design, I could probably replicate a similar look to this being made out of plastic. So I knew I booked a flight to China and went over and kind of searched for phone case factories that would be able to replicate the same look of the cases I had, but make it completely out of plastic polycarbonate. So that was the inflection point. That's how it kind of forced me to scale and kind of go deeper into the business.
And what did you tell Apple this time? Were you like, give me a minute while I figure this out? Like, how did you keep them on hold to do what you had to do?
Yeah, exactly. He had said, yeah, let us know about any future developments. So I said, yes, I definitely will be letting you know. So yeah, I think a few weeks later, I was on a flight to China and trying to get that new fully polycarbonate design worked out.
Now, why did you feel like you had to go all the way to China to figure this out? It couldn't be done like online or over the phone to get them to create some samples for you based on your designs?
Well, at that point, I was kind of working with some suppliers in China to source the base silicone cases. So I was trying to work with a few different suppliers to get the perfect kind of base silicone case, and then I had another supplier for the studs as well. So I was kind of familiar with working with some of the factories, and I figured that this would be a good time to kind of use this to go over there, be feet on the ground, meet face to face with them to really get the design and everything for how this new fully polycarbonate case was gonna look and function and everything. So I just figured that would be a good time after having already been working with the factories there for a few months.
Yeah, a lot of the more successful entrepreneurs that I speak to on this podcast will do something like that, where they will be willing to pack their bags and go all the way to the other side of the world to meet the meat manufacturers in person. So if anyone out there is listening, is thinking about taking this approach, what kind of tips do you have for them to prepare for a trip like this?
Yeah, definitely. So that first trip I went on was a huge wake-up call. A lot of the suppliers that I was working with already, they weren't actually factories or manufacturers. They were just agents or trading companies. So I would show up to their office, and it was just a tiny little office with a whole bunch of salespeople. And then I found out that they would just kind of outsource their work to the factories. So I kind of before that trip went on Alibaba, found a few phone case factories and set up meetings with them. Some of them did end up being factories. Some of them were trading companies. So that was a good experience to kind of figure that out and see exactly what I was working with. Also, I learned from being there that first time that there are trade shows that you can go to. They happen a few times every year. There are some in Hong Kong and some in Guangzhou. So the second time I went to China, I made sure I went during one of the times of that trade shows was happening. So it was great compared to the first time where I was running all over China. I felt like I was lost all the time, trying to go meet at these different factories. They were out in rural areas. Like sometimes I would have to drive 5 hours just to get to a factory. Whereas when you go to a trade show, obviously all the vendors have booths set up, and it's huge. There's like multiple buildings, so kind of every industry will have a trade show or be incorporated into a trade show. So the one that I went to there, I think the general name for the trade show is called it's like the Hong Kong or sourcing fair, and the general name of this one was, I think, gifts and electronics. So there was a section within this huge trade show that specifically catered to phone case manufacturers and like laptop sleeves and skins and all that kind of stuff. So it was definitely a lot better, and I could get a lot more done that second time, where I could just bang out a whole bunch of meetings back to back to back in under one roof than having to travel throughout China. Another thing that I was lucky to have was a translator based. She met me in China. She spoke English and Chinese, and she took me around, and she was kind of my tour guide, and she would go to all the meetings with me and help translate and everything, which is I definitely recommend having someone that you hire who is more on your side working for you, as opposed to you going to the factories not knowing Chinese, because potentially the factories, when you're in the meetings, they could be saying stuff in Chinese and you don't know what they're saying. So it was great having kind of someone working for me in those meetings, and she would be on my team and help kind of mediate, and she could let me know what people in the factories was saying, and she would always let me know how she felt about the factories, because she has a lot of experience visiting different factories and stuff. So she she was great. I definitely recommend trying to hire I think sometimes they're called fixers. But yeah, there's kind of companies who have this set up, and you can hire them to kind of be your right hand man or woman while you're over there.
And how do you begin looking for a fixer or someone out there that can help not just translate for you, but actually understand that the business, the kind of business that you're in? Like, how did you find them?
Well, I actually got lucky. My dad and uncle actually have a import business where they import construction materials from China. So she is actually their employee who lives in China full time. So she met me. That's how I found her. But since working with her, I've seen you could find them on Google searches, or kind of in like Shopify groups or chats. I know there are kind of, I see people posting kind of export help, and they would be based in China. That's how I would have gone about it if I didn't already kind of have that in.
So obviously you would want to interview these people to make sure that you're choosing the right translator. Based on your experience, like, what are some key attributes that you recommend people looking for when they are looking to hire a translator / fixer to help them when they are in China?
One thing, it would be very beneficial if they knew the area in particular that you're going to. So the area that I went to was Shenzhen and Guangzhou, which Sally, who I met up with there, she used to live in Shenzhen, so she kind of knew the area. That makes it super helpful for getting around. There's like taxis, subway, buses, so many different methods of transportation. A lot of time the factories will come and pick you up from your hotel, so that makes it easier. But that's definitely one of the things. If they're kind of from or familiar with the general area that you're going to, would really help. Also, I know Sally, who I worked with, is a great negotiator. Like I said, she comes from the construction material trades, so she had a ton of knowledge with negotiations. And actually, when we were over there, for the first time I had paid for a mold, like a new phone case tooling to be made. And one of the factories that we were visiting, they kept delaying it, installing it, and it still wasn't completed by the time that they had promised. So she had actually, it took 2 hours, and she was kind of arguing with them and negotiating with them, and she actually ended up getting my money back that I paid for that tooling that wasn't completed yet. So that was huge to get back, a few $1,000s on something that wasn't made as by the time that they promised it had been.
Certainly sounds like worth the investment to get a really great translator. Now, when you go to these factories or go to these meetings at the trade shows, what's your goal? What are the top 2 to 3 things that you want to accomplish on a given day at a factory or in a day full of meetings?
So if it's your first time meeting with the factory, you definitely just kind of want to have those normal conversations, get to know each other, kind of get a feel for the people who are in charge of the factory that you're meeting with. After all, you're going to be, emailing them back and forth every day while your product is getting manufactured, and you want to make sure that you get the feeling that they're there to help you out and that they're a good fit. That's kind of just like personally wise, like on a personal level. After that, you have to kind of you go to their showroom and you see what other products they're capable of manufacturing. You want to see the quality of the products that they're making. If you can, try and get some information from them in regards to what other brands or what other companies, potentially your competitors, if they're manufacturing similar products for other, like I said, competitors. That could be great if you know that competitor of yours, or just kind of brand in a similar space. If you know that they are kind of a bigger name than you are at the time, and if they've chosen to work with this factory, then it can be like kind of a green light potentially. So yeah, definitely testing the products that they have kind of there on their showroom floor, and that they are able to make the products that you want them to make at a good price point. So for phone cases, there are the initial tooling costs, which are very expensive, and then there's the individual per unit cost of all the cases coming out of there. So definitely get a price quote. Make sure that they're quoting on all the correct things. Make sure you have laid out to them very clear exactly what you want quoted on. Because one time in the past, I guess the manufacturer that I was meeting with, we had discussed one way of making a case, and we didn't end up going with that, or I didn't think we ended up going with that, but that's what they ended up quoting on, and it ended up being the tooling was like 4 times as expensive as it should have been. Just from a simple communication error, So you really have to make sure that you have everything very clear laid out as to what you're getting quoted on.
So you had the attention of Apple, and now you have actually sold into a number of physical retail stores. Can you tell us which ones you sold your cases or have sold your cases?
So there's Holt Renfrew, which is kind of a luxury retailer in Canada. Nordstrom sold them. Free People, Urban Outfitters, Indigo are kind of some of the popular names.
And how did this happen? Like, when was the timeline for you getting into all of these retailers?
So it was funny, actually. When I had kind of started making the cases, I kind of dreamt that the goal would be to get into Holt Renfrew, Canada's luxury retailer. And that was actually one of the first retailers that picked up the initial metal studded cases. And it's funny how it happened. It was kind of being in the right place at the right time. My friend Tony Pham was sitting front row at a Toronto Fashion Week event, and he was sitting beside the vice president of Holt Renfrew, and he had one of my cases on. So she said, "Oh my God, what is that? Tell me all about this. I need to know." So he said that it's a local Toronto designer, and she said, "Okay, set up a meeting." So I had a meeting set up the following week in the vice president of Holt Renfrew's office, and all the buyers were there, and I brought some handmade samples, laid them out on the table, and they ended up placing an order right there for 200 and something units. So that was my biggest order at the time from a huge retailer, Holt Renfrew, which was a dream to get in. So it was kind of surreal that they were actually one of the first retailers that ended up picking up the felony case phone cases.
Yeah, definitely one of the great benefits of having a super visible product like a phone case that stands out. And what about the other retailers? How did those pan out?
So yeah, they're kind of all different stories. I kind of wrote out a list of retailers that I thought would be a great fit, that I fit for the brand, and I thought that the cases would sell really well in. And I kind of just would go on LinkedIn, search Urban Outfitters buyer, and kind of find their profile on LinkedIn, try and connect with them or send them a message. That was kind of my initial step, and see if they would reply. Then I would just send them everything they needed in that first message. So photos of the cases, line sheet with kind of the collection photos along with retail and wholesale pricing, and I just made sure I gave them all the information that they needed right then to make the decision. I was worried that maybe if I just said, "Hey, I have this phone case company, I thought you might be interested," but didn't include photos or whatever, they might just pass that by. So if sometimes buyers would reply and say, "Yeah, send over samples," or if I didn't hear back from the buyer that I had reached out to, I would just kind of look up where their head office is, and I would put a little sample pack together and put attention accessories buyers, or if I could find their name on LinkedIn, I would definitely include their name on the package and kind of make it a little bit more personal like that. But if not, yeah, I was just sending boxes of cases to head offices, and that's actually how Urban Outfitters started buying. I had reached out to them on LinkedIn or email to start. I didn't hear anything back, so I just sent them samples, and then a few days after the samples were delivered, the correct buyer from Urban Outfitters hit me back, and that's kind of how that one started. So yeah, it's kind of all different ways and tactics of kind of getting the products into the in the eyes of the buyers.
Yeah, I like how you take this essentially offline and not just message and email these people, but actually try to send them the product to their offices. But I bet they still get bombarded all the time, right? Whether it be through regular mail or through email or through LinkedIn messages. Like, what do you think of? What do you think it was about you or your approach that helped you stand out to get the attention of these buyers?
Yeah, definitely. They're 100% getting emails and samples sent to them all the time. At the end of the day, I think it's just about having a catchy product that fits with the assortment and the aesthetic of the store, and something that kind of just catches the eyes of the buyers that they feel synergy with, they feel will be a good fit with their store. I think at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. You have to really kind of carefully pick out which retailers you think your products will work with, and kind of focus on them. If it works with others, that's great. But at the end of the day, it's the buyer's decision, and they really have to feel like it's going to sell well in their stores.
Yeah, I often hear from entrepreneurs that sell into these big box retailers is that getting that initial purchase order is the easy part. The hard part is actually working with them, right? Falling into their process and making sure you abide by their process. So what's it been like working with so many different retailers? Are they all the same? Or are they all different? Like, what's your experience been like?
Yeah, that's been a huge learning curve. Every retailer has, specific routing guides to how they want the product received, whether it be in their warehouses or if you ship it direct to their stores that are going to sell it. A lot of the big box retailers will have, warehouses, like one central warehouse or a few warehouses throughout the States or Canada where you will ship all of the products to, and you have to make sure all the proper stickers are on them, the barcodes, everything. Some retailers have specific requests, like they want like theft prevention stickers put on. So that is all the brand's job to do prior to us shipping it to their warehouse.
Who handles all of that? Is that you, or do you outsource all of these kind of nuances between all the different retailers?
So I handle that. I personally still handle that to this day, actually, just because I don't want to jeopardize a big retailer receiving a shipment and something's done incorrect. So yeah, I still handle that for all of our website. Online sales, that's all through a fulfillment company. But yeah, I do all of the retail orders still.
Got it. And what kind of preparation did you have to do, or did you even have the time to prepare for that initial purchase order to make sure that you lined up with all the things that they wanted?
Yeah, it's a lot of reading. You'll get a PDF document. The first kind of big, really confusing one that I got was Nordstrom in the States. So I think their routing guide is like 100-page PDF. It goes into specifics all the way down to what boxes to use, what cardboard boxes to use to ship, and what tape you actually use on the box. It has to be like only specific types of tape, only specific types of packaging material inside. Like you can't use peanuts, like packaging filler peanuts. So you really have to read through these documents and kind of make notes and study it. And there's always someone in the at the receiving warehouse if you have questions, if it's your first time. Hopefully they're helpful. I know I've reached out and usually get someone there who will help me out. But yeah, that first shipment that I did to Nordstrom, so much stuff went wrong. They were held up in customs because they didn't have country of origin stickers on the packaging, so customs didn't release them. It actually all ended up getting returned to us, so I had to get made in China stickers made, and then re-sticker all of the packages, and then reship them. And thankfully, eventually they receive them, but that comes with a price. There are always chargebacks if you do something incorrectly. The retailers will just take money off the amount owed to you for the products.
So you've sold, in store at these retailers. You sell through your own website at felonycase.com. You mentioned to me that you sold on Etsy to start with, and you mentioned offline that you sold or are selling through Spring, and then you're also setting up your shop on Amazon. What, if you look back on all of this, and if you could give advice to someone out there that's just starting, which of these avenues would you recommend people focus on first? Like, is there a specific kind of best, or in your experience, best order of operations to launch in all of these different marketplaces?
I definitely focus on your own website first. Make sure all of your, product images and copy and everything is up to snuff for your own website first. That way, when you are expanding into whether it be other online points of sale like Amazon or Etsy, or into retailers, then you already have all the information, all the photos of your products, and all the copy for the website, and you can just send that. You can pretty much just copy and paste that from your Shopify store onto Etsy, list the products there, onto Amazon, list the products there with the same copy. And then even sometimes retailers, it'll be a perk to a retailer if they don't have to do their own product photography. A lot of them do want to do their own because they have kind of their own aesthetic, but I always, whenever we get a new retailer, I always let them know ahead of time that I have all the product photography on plain white, and I have all social media posts that they can use to share to promote the brand. I've found that kind of works as an upsell, and retailers will appreciate that if you could send them the product photography so they can use the same photos on their website, and they don't have to worry about having a photographer take more pictures.
So you recommend focusing your website first, not necessarily because it might be the greatest volume of traffic or sales, but because you can reuse a lot of that work in all the other marketplaces.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, for us, it is, it has been like our own website, and then retailers have been the two biggest, sources of traffic and sales. I find if sometimes people might come across your product on, say, an Etsy or an Amazon, and from there they will do a Google search, and they'll want to find your website directly, just to kind of validate the brand, make sure it looks legit. They'll probably want to check out your social media, Instagram, Facebook, see what you're doing there as well. So yeah, I kind of think all those touch points work hand in hand and work really well together to kind of give your brand that full 360 view online from people who new people who come across your brand.
Yeah, especially if you're building a brand, you can no longer just rely on the one site that the customer might have landed on, that they discovered you on, whether it be on Amazon or Etsy. They're going to seek you out, right? They're going to seek you out by Googling you. They're going to look for your socials. They'll look for your own website. So that's a very important point. When you are building a brand, you want to make sure all the messaging is out there and available for people to take a look at. Now, a lot of success too, or you've had a lot of success at least with collaborating with a lot of celebrities. Talk to us about that. What kind of celebrities have you worked with, and how did those come about?
Yeah, so that's been kind of cool. We worked with The Weeknd on a iPhone case for his EXO clothing line. So that was a collaboration case. I worked with his creative director, and we came up with some case designs, and yeah, they actually released those on their website as part of a collection. So that was with the weekend. There have been a few other phone cases with some other celebrities. Travis Scott, we did samples of phone cases for him. Theophilus London. Those ones didn't end up making it to for sale, but it was still a cool learning curve. Sometimes it's hard to work with these celebrities. You know, their team have so much other more important stuff going on that stuff might get forgotten about or whatever. But that was cool working with the weekend for that, for sure. And then even kind of working with celebrities as influencers and sending them our cases. So Haley Baldwin has been spotted with our phone cases. Back in the day, actually, one of the first big ones was the DJ Deadmau5, and his one of his marketing people saw the case and actually bought it online. So I had no idea, and then he ended up posting a picture on Instagram with it. So that was super cool.
Nice. So you're not just getting them, or you have done this in the past too, but you're going beyond just working with them as influencers. You're collaborating with others too. Now, in the cases that it has worked out and you've sold these products, do you find that the kind of customers, the kind of attention that you get when collaborating with these celebrities will often bring in repeat purchases from these customers, or are they usually, there to buy and support their celebrity and kind of, go off after that?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think especially with the weekend one, because all the sales were done through his website and at his shows. So kind of with that, it was only our brand name, inside the case and on the packaging. So it's not like it was his brand name on the outside of the case. So in instances like that, I think they're really buying it to support their favorite musician. But hey, if some of them notice the Case brand and then become fans of the Case because of that, then yeah, that's super cool too.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I've seen where you can certainly explode your sales from collaborating with a celebrity, but a lot of times it's at a detriment of not necessarily hiding your brand, but you are sometimes white labeling, your product, and their brand is going to be more prominent in that case. So that's certainly something to weigh the pros and cons with, versus like just working with a celebrity as an influencer and getting them your kind of flagship products and getting those in front of their audiences. Now, I want to talk about the team that you have working behind this. You mentioned that it's pretty much just you, and then you've also hired some freelancers. Talk to us about that. What kind of freelancers have you hired to help out?
Yeah, so I hire kind of creative people, photographers and graphic designers, 3D designers too, for some of the more geometric designs that we do. So yeah, a lot of the freelancers I work with are more creative leaning, where I work with a few local photographers around Toronto who do lots of shoots for us, and that's great content for social media, Instagram, and we use it on ads, and then as well as on our website. And yeah, I'll work with a lot of graphic designers. I'll kind of conceptualize new case designs and kind of get them to put their spin on it and make something out of it. So that's kind of really how I've been working up until now. Kept it super lean. I'm the only staff or employee. I did mention that I have the fulfillment company, so that took a lot of weight off my shoulders and freed up a lot of my time when they came in and started doing a lot of the online order fulfilling. And then I also have people come into the office when we're super busy with big retail orders to help package those and get those all ready for shipment. That's kind of who I've been working with now. I am kind of in the process of looking to hire a more full-time creative person to take that in-house and be a creative lead to kind of put their vision in the photo shoots and new case designs and overall kind of branding for Felony Case. I'm kind of starting out that hiring process now.
Nice. Now, what about applications? What kind of apps or services or tools do you use to help run the business?
So I kind of started on Shopify a few months ago, and one of the main reasons why I wanted to make the switch was actually from listening to Shopify Masters podcast, and hearing people explain the different apps that they use. Previously, I was on WooCommerce and all that. I think there's an app marketplace there, but it is just very confusing, and I didn't end up using any apps there. So Shopify, since making that switch, it's been great. One of my favorite apps is Consistent Cart. So it's the cart abandonment. They'll follow up with an email, and it's great. They have a tracker on top to show what the value of abandoned carts that they've recovered for you. So yeah, that's my favorite, because I can see that number there and see that it's far more than paying off each month. That's been great.
Cool. Any other apps that you recommend?
Other than that, I keep it pretty basic. Pixel Pop I use for kind of a kind of capture email addresses, and a little bit of an upsell with like a 10% off coupon. That's been great. And I also use that same Pixel Pop for when people in Canada visit our felonycase.com website. It pops up to them saying, "Would you like to shop in Canadian dollars?" And it sends them over to the felonycase.ca website. That's another great one. I kind of with apps, it's great that they work like this. You just kind of set them and forget them. So a lot of the time I'm not actually thinking of the apps, but they're always there working for you, and it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I noticed on your site was that you've implemented the Facebook Messenger live chat features as message us in your bottom right-hand corner. Is that something new that you've added? Like, what's your experience been like with adding Facebook Messenger into your customer support?
Yeah, actually, that's one that I kind of just added a couple weeks ago. That I've been testing it out, and it's great. Yeah, being right there when the customer has a question. Being able to answer it right away from them. And then it's kind of cool seeing that order with their name come through a few minutes after you answer that question. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely worth it. Being right there and having that immediate customer support is great. That's a new one that we've been testing out. Yeah. And it's been cool so far.
Awesome. So thank you so much for your time, Andrew. Felonycase.com is the website. What's next? What's next for Felony Case? Where do you want to take the brand next?
Well, right now we're kind of getting neck deep into iPhone 8 development. So definitely have some exciting new designs coming out for that when it's released later this year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yes, thank you, Felix.
Here's a sneak peek for what's in store in the next Shopify Masters episode.
Just because you give back doesn't make your business unique anymore.
Thanks for listening to Shopify Masters, the e-commerce marketing podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs. To start your store today, visit shopify.com/masters to claim your extended 30-day free trial. Also, for this episode's show notes, head over to shopify.com/blog.